Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Live at 4 on this Thursday. Unusual weather day today.
Snowy, a little bit of sun.
Yeah, the snow is coming down by us at noon.
Very cold, but we haven't seen anything yet.
This is balmy compared to what's coming. We'll get to that in just a second. But first, here's what's making news on this Thursday. Details of a murder in Janesville. Adam Duxter reports it may be a case of a broken romance.
In Madison, the police chief says they may have solved a series of armed robberies, some of them involving cab drivers. Our Jamie Perez will have that.
And Republicans controlling the Senate have scuttled a Democratic attempt to temporarily reopen the shuttered portion of the federal government.
Let's take a look outside this afternoon. There was some pretty snow falling.
Yeah, I was worried for a minute there. I thought, what's this going to add up to? But it didn't add up to much. But we have dangerous wind chills on the way.
That'll be the big story.
Yeah, Dave Caulfield is in the backyard where it's still relatively mild.
Yeah, as the cold front comes through, though, and actually just did that cold front across southern Wisconsin, temperatures and wind chills are really going to plummet later this afternoon into this evening. Doppler track showing some of that snow Mark was talking about. It was coming down pretty well at times this afternoon, but it has generally moved out of Dane County now, affecting portions of southeastern Wisconsin. So keep that in mind if you are traveling closer to Milwaukee over the next few hours. You may encounter some of those snowflakes in Platteville on our Queen Bee Radio Skycam, looking at that sunshine and starting to maybe see a little bit of that clearing in Madison as well on the Edgewater Skycam. Temperatures are down to 18. They were at 21 last hour in Madison. We're already well into the single digits south and west, or I should say west of Madison. And look at those wind speeds really picking up at about 20 to 25 miles per hour. Our wind chill is now down to 5 in Madison, but closer to La Crosse and Prairie du Chien, already near 15 below zero, and those numbers are going to continue to plummet from there. Wind chill advisories in effect for everyone across southern Wisconsin. A live look in Madison on the WISC-TV Skycam. Your forecast first showing those temperatures falling through the single digits and well below zero by the time we get to later on tomorrow morning. Now let's take a look at your first alert traffic update. No major accidents or incidents to report across Dane County. Traffic starting to pick up a little bit on the Beltline. Your drive times right now not looking too bad, maybe a little bit slow. John Nolan eastbound to the interstate, that'll cost you 6 minutes, average speed of around 45 miles per hour. Some other routes in and around Madison not looking too bad. The Beltline southbound to Janesville, that's 26 minutes, still showing up green with an average speed right around 70 miles per hour. And that's your first alert traffic. We have to talk about some dangerous cold, then some more snow, and then next week is looking like alert days pretty much every day. I'll tell you why in your first alert forecast.
All right, we'll see you back here in a little bit. Thank you, Dave.
First at 4 today, we're learning more about a murder that happened last night on Janesville's southwest side.
Janesville police say the suspect was an ex-boyfriend targeting a new boyfriend. Rock County reporter Adam Duxter joins us from the city's southwest side with the details. Adam?
Well, Mark and Susan, police say they arrested 39-year-old Lucas Stohr near Monroe on first-degree intentional homicide charges. This comes after they say he shot and killed his ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend. Now, Stohr and this ex-girlfriend had a history of domestic violence in the past, and police say that the two recently had broke up. Police say it was last night out of this Janesville home that Stohr followed the woman and her new boyfriend before shooting him in the driveway. Chief Dave Moore saying today,
we feel a strong commitment to our victims' families. And like I said, we do not have many homicides. And we're in the very fortunate situation. We bring everybody in. Lieutenant Agard had his whole detective bureau in. They worked till about 1 o'clock this morning. We will continue bringing patrol officers in until we can provide the good service for the family and assure that there is a prosecutable case.
this is the first homicide in the city of Janesville in 2019, and Chief Moore says this city only averages a handful of homicides a year, but 2/3 of those, he says, are domestic violence related. And he says since homicides here are so infrequent, they really can put their whole task force behind this. He says 20 police officers will be designated to investigating this homicide.
We will continue to follow it. Adam Duxter reporting live from Janesville. Adam, thank you.
Cash bail was set at $250,000 for the man accused of stabbing and killing an 88-year-old man in a Sauk County casino parking lot. Robert Pulvermacher is facing a charge of first-degree intentional homicide in the death of Harold Johnson. Johnson's daughter told police that her father had lent $100 to Pulvermacher, and Johnson was supposed to meet Pulvermacher the next day to get his money back, but Pulvermacher never showed up. Johnson then met Pulvermacher 2 days later at the Ho-Chunk Casino in Lake Delton. Surveillance video from the casino shows the two talking together inside the casino and heading out to Johnson's car. Johnson was found dead the next day with 5 stab wounds. Madison police have arrested a man and 2 teens involved in a string of armed robberies involving taxicab drivers.
28-year-old Eric Clay was arrested and is on a probationary hold. 2 juveniles have also been arrested in relation to the crimes. Our Jamie Perez joins us live at the Madison Police Department with more details about the arrest. Jamie?
Eric Clay was arrested on 5 counts of armed robbery, and there are also a couple of teens that were involved, all ranging from ages 12 to 16. Now, police say there's obviously more arrests to be made, and the investigation is still very active. They're also still trying to recover the guns that were used. Now, these incidents involve a string of armed robberies that we first reported on in December involving green cab drivers, but police have also connected this to several other armed robberies involving a home invasion and one robbing a sandwich delivery driver. Now, police say that by arresting Eric Clay, they've eliminated a lot of the ongoing crime issues in Madison.
By virtue of putting Clay out of commission, we have seen a precipitous drop in the number of these sort of armed encounters, and these were up close and personal with everything that looked like a gun held within inches of people's faces at times.
While Madison police have not been able to make the connections that Clay had with the teens involved, they did say that Clay and one of the teens worked at a fast food restaurant together at one point in time. And while Madison police continue on making additional arrests, the green cab driver owners of that company say that they are relieved that an arrest was made. We'll hear from one of them coming up tonight.
Jamie Perez reporting live from the Madison Police Department headquarters. Thank you, Jamie.
President Trump's State of the Union address remains on hold as negotiations to end the partial government shutdown continue. Senate lawmakers are holding key votes today to try to come up with a solution. Nicole Killian has the latest from Capitol Hill.
Mr. Graham, Mr. Grassley.
Senate lawmakers voted on a Republican plan to end the government shutdown, including $5.7 billion for President Trump's border wall.
Denying the president 0.1% for spending on needed border security is not worth hurting this many people.
The motion is not agreed to.
The measure failed, then the chamber blocked a continuing resolution favored by Democrats that did not include funding for the wall.
Our proposal allows us to open up the government and then after government's open, settle our differences over border security.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi now says she's willing to meet face-to-face with President Trump to try to break the impasse.
The comments came just hours after Mr. Trump agreed to delay his State of the Union address at the Speaker's request.
It's the President of the United States. We meet with him anytime he wants to meet, and I've never discouraged anybody from meeting with the president.
Thursday, the president's Commerce Secretary faced criticism for questioning why furloughed workers need food banks on CNBC.
Well, I know they are, and I don't really quite understand why. The 30 days of pay that some people will be out, there's no real reason why they shouldn't be able to get a loan against it.
800,000 federal workers are set to miss a second paycheck Friday on day 35 of the partial government shutdown. In Washington, Nicole Killian for WISC News 3.
The president cannot give a joint speech to a joint session of Congress unless the House and the Senate pass a resolution setting the date and the time.
Venezuela is in crisis as President Nicolas Maduro fights to stay in power. Maduro brushed off international calls for him to step down following violent protests in Caracas. Yesterday, opposition leader Juan Guaido went into hiding after declaring himself the interim president. President Trump pledged to support Guaido, prompting Maduro to order all American diplomats out of the country within 72 hours. But Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says the embattled leader doesn't have the authority to make that call.
The United States proudly recognized National Assembly President Juan Guaido as the interim president of Venezuela. The time for debate is done. The regime of former President Nicolas Maduro is illegitimate.
The UN Security Council will meet to discuss the ongoing crisis in Venezuela on Saturday. And in Venezuela, food and medicine are scarce, and inflation is up 1,000,000%.
A new Marquette Law School poll shows support for some of the top priorities of new Governor Tony Evers. Badger care in Wisconsin, an overwhelming 62% say accept the funds, 25% against. The question about staying in the federal lawsuit to overturn the Affordable Care Act, that is split more along party lines, 48-42 in favor of withdrawing. And the push to legalize marijuana continues to gain momentum in Wisconsin.
But we've gone from a small majority opposed to legalization by about 51 to 47 or so, up to a big majority in favor, now 57 to 58% in favor of legalization. That also is something that's not been on the legislative agenda, but this is one where over the last 10 years in national polling, there have been real changes in support for it. And in
On national issues, 66% oppose the government shutdown. The president's approval rating sits at 44%. 52% disapprove of President Trump. Charles Franklin will be on Live at 4 tomorrow to discuss his findings.
And police are investigating two unrelated road rage incidents that were both caught on camera, one on the East Coast, the other on the West. New York City police are asking for help identifying this man after an attack on an Uber driver in Manhattan. The suspect climbed on top of the Uber car where he screamed and posed before taking off. The suspect, a bicyclist, used a bicycle lock to smash the windshield and rear window of the car.
Could be something where somebody was cut off. That's certainly something that we're looking at.
What the?
And police in California are looking for the man who attacked a woman with her two daughters in the car. The rattled Anaheim mom did not want to show her face, but her teenage daughters took cell phone video of the incident. The woman says she has no idea why the man followed her out of a parking lot and smashed his fist into her windshield before taking off in his white Jeep Cherokee. Investigators hope a blurred photo of his license plate number will help lead them to an arrest.
Still to come tonight at 4. Now even your doorbell can be hacked.
Wait until you hear the terrifying story one family experienced when their Nest doorbell sounded an alarm, a false alarm. Stay with us. Welcome back. A family in California is calling on tech companies to do more to protect consumers after their home security system was apparently hijacked.
This is a terrifying story. Laura Lyons says hackers took control of her Nest security camera, and for several minutes, she experienced moments of terror. She says it began when the speaker on the Nest camera began blasting an emergency alert through her family's California home. She says the voice was warning them that missiles from North Korea were headed to the U.S. and to take shelter.
Well.
The hoax sent Lyons, her husband, and their 8-year-old son into a panic.
We called Nest. They admitted that they had received multiple reports of Nest cameras being hacked in the last week.
In a statement to CBS, Google, which owns Nest, says Nest was not breached. Instead, the company says customers like the Lyons had been using compromised passwords exposed through breaches on other websites. Laura Lyons says since the incident involving her family's Nest security camera, her husband changed their passwords, turned on two-factor authentication, and turned off the device's microphone and speaker.
That'll wake you up.
Yes. Scary.
Right.
Very scary.
It is scary. On Wall Street, stocks were mixed over conflicting signals over U.S.-China trade talks. The Dow Industrials lost 22 points, closing at 24,553. The NASDAQ Composite Index added 47, and the S&P 500 was off 3.5. Well, it's almost the weekend in the 608.
And Emmy Fink is here with a look at what's going on around town this weekend. Hello,
Emmy.
Mama Bear. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys. It's been a long week for you, but for a lot, it's been kind of an easy week.
Kind of short weeks.
Yeah,
Snow
Wednesday,
days.
snow day.
That's
Monday,
true.
Monday, Martin Luther King.
Yeah, and there's no school tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah, Madison schools are off tomorrow for not weather related.
See,
just
there
because
you
they're
go.
off.
I don't have a kid in school yet, but hey,
Yet, almost.
a two-day work week, people could get used to that.
I'm up for that. So who needs a weekend? Well, we do.
We do. You do.
We do. So what's going on?
Big shindig this weekend.
A huge shindig. If you want to get dressed up, dressed to the nines, this is your place because it's Overture Center's biggest fundraiser of the year. They are going to dress to the nines. They're going to sip little craft cocktails and appetizer nibbling all night. Sounds like my kind of party. Go to dance to Chicago's 10-piece upbeat orchestra's mix of swing, ballroom, R&B, and Motown. All different arrangements. And like I said, this is the biggest fundraiser for Overture. Very, very swanky, very fun. I've gone in the past and...
Beautiful venue.
Oh, yeah. Overlooking, downtown. Gorgeous.
You can go next year after we're not so baby-y.
Yeah, it's just not fun being around people who can sip those craft cocktails. Because I'm just a little mad at them.
And you can't. All right. So there's some music for an even greater cause.
This is very cool. So Madison Americana's band, the Whiskey Farm, is going to headline the second annual Music for Good benefit show, and that's exactly what it is. It's a benefit show for NAMI of Dane County, the organization that supports people with mental illness and those affected through their loved ones. So it's all of the acts on the bill for that night, which include Shutterplay, Sam Gray, and many more, are doing it all as volunteers. So 100% of the proceeds go to NAMI. This is Friday night. The show begins at 6 o'clock at High Noon Saloon.
Good for them.
Yeah, so great. Such great organization, and so great that all of those people come together and say, yeah, I'll do this for free.
Yeah, fun night for a great cause. And
For
there's
sure.
another music option on the table this weekend.
Yeah, so if that doesn't fit your fancy, how about this? No Name comes to the Sylvie. Well, she's anything but a no name, but Chicago-raised rapper released her 2018 album titled Room 25, and last year she actually worked with several big names, and she's on the upswing. So her name is actually No Name. She's filled with plenty of spoken, spunky word, jazzy background music, and you can see her perform Saturday at the Sylvie at 8 o'clock. I've yet to get to the Sylvie.
I
Have you guys?
No, I haven't yet either.
Have to get over there.
I'm excited to see it.
All right, there's nothing more exciting than a good spelling bee.
Doesn't it just take you back to middle school where it's quiet and everybody's looking at you who's already gotten out? It does me. Well, except I didn't have like a Leaf Coney Bear and William Barfay in my class. A couple of the misfit teens who are going to compete in the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. It takes place at Cardinal Heights Upper Middle School in Sun Prairie. Runs Friday through Sunday the next 2 weekends. Just a lot of fun.
It is a great show.
It's a great. Mark has been in the show.
I've been in it.
Really?
The university's production. Yeah, I was a guest speller.
Which name did?
I was one
which
of the,
word?
I was one of the people that come in and spell names like cow.
Oh, nice.
The easy ones.
It's funny.
All right, we have 30 seconds left, so quick, we have to check out the
Real
Chazen.
quick. Yep, the art exhibit Southern Rights opens this weekend at the Chazen, runs all spring. UW alum Jillian Lobb has 2 decades of photography, and she's going to explore cultural identity with a U.S. town that held racially segregated dances well into the 21st century. So very interesting stuff at the Chazen. Plenty of time to see it as well.
Yeah, it's a very interesting exhibit, that's for sure. All right, plenty to do. Just stay warm, bundle up if you're going out.
Yeah, stay warm.
All right, see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Emmy. Good
Bye.
to see you.
Get this month's Madison Magazine for all the best in the Madison area.
Still to come, for the growing field of Democratic candidates for president is causing some tongues to twist.
Yes, indeed. What's in a name? CNN's Jeannie Mose gets to the bottom of Buttigieg? Buttigieg. See, I can't even do it. Look at that name. That's when Live at 4 continues. Take a look at this. Hundreds of horses running across a horse farm in the snow has created a splendid view of the herd against snow-enveloped mountains in the northwest China's Gansu province. The horse farm experienced heavy snowfall in recent days, covering the grassland with thick, pure snow. This horse farm is the second largest in Asia, or it's the largest in Asia, the second largest in the world, covering nearly 850 square miles.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that spectacular?
That is something for sure. And this weather is going to be something as well.
We should all get on a horse and head somewhere.
That sounds
get out of town.
Sounds pretty good at this point because we're talking more snow. We are talking dangerously cold wind chills as we head into the next couple of days and also for next week. All of it. And there is a jam-packed forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Good afternoon. I hope you had a really nice Thursday. We saw some snow showers on this Thursday, but also some sunshine, a little bit of everything, but everything has been pretty cold outside. And we're talking about a bitterly and in some spots close to dangerously cold weekend, especially as we get into tomorrow morning with wind chills of -20 to -35 possible. Then snow comes our way on Monday, and that could be heavy at times. And we have alert days in the forecast basically every day next week from Monday until Thursday for various wintry reasons. We'll talk about all of that in a jam-packed forecast in just a little bit. First, though, the wind chill advisory. We are all under it across southern Wisconsin from this evening until tomorrow at around noon, I believe. Wind chills of -20 to -35 as we start off the day on Friday. Right now, wind chills are still above zero in Madison, but notice what's just directly to the west. Already feeling like -15 in Decorah, Iowa, -10 in Viroqua, and Platteville feeling like -14. And we still have a little bit of daylight for some of us. So just picture once that sun goes down, once we lose the cloud cover, we're going to get some very, very bitterly cold wind chills and dangerously cold wind chills in some spots. So when we talk about wind chills like this of -25 to -35, even close to -40, not out of the question in some spots, frostbite can set in on exposed skin in about 10 to 15 minutes. So you're really going to want to limit your exposed skin and time outdoors over the next couple of days, if at all possible. Dress in layers, bundle up to the max. This is no joke, this cold. And the snow was no joke for some time, at least during the afternoon. These snow showers kind of punched a little bit above their weight, but they are basically coming to an end for a lot of us. Southwestern Wisconsin not really seeing anything, but closer to southeastern Wisconsin and Milwaukee and Watertown, we still do have some of those snow showers. Here's a time lapse in Madison. We did see some reduced visibility at times during the early afternoon, but right now the picture is looking a little bit better. We can see a little bit farther on the WISC-TV Skycam. So for tonight, -13 for the low. That is an unlucky -13 right there. Breezy, bitterly cold with wind chills of -20 to -35 possible as we wake up on Friday. Big fat goose egg for the high temperature tomorrow. Bitterly cold. We could be talking about some flurries in the afternoon as well. So once we get below zero on our wind chill scale, which will happen in Madison over the next couple of hours, I don't think it will feel like it's above zero for basically the next 4 days. And I wish I was kidding about that, but it could feel as low as -35 to start off Friday. Then during the day, we're still talking about wind chills below zero, and that number does not creep even close to zero until we get to Monday morning. And what's happening on Monday morning? Well, the snow is coming down, so that's really the only reason why we get those temperatures to get close to zero, or wind chill temperatures to get close to zero. I think daytime highs on Monday will be in the teens for the first time in quite some time, but that snow could be coming down heavy at times, and we could be talking about some snowfall totals of about 4 to 8 inches in some spots. We're still narrowing down those and kind of ironing out those totals as we speak, so stay tuned on that. After that, in case we can't get any more weather into this forecast, we have cold air and very, very cold air moving in. So we saw the colors kind of go off the map a little bit as we get to next Wednesday. This is absolutely frigid air that comes into town by the middle of next week, with low temperatures of about -20 possible and wind chills as low as -45, at least showing up right now on our forecast. So that's what we are worried about as we head into next week. More dangerously cold air could be on the way, and right now some of those values are a little bit on the conservative side as well, so we could get even colder. So we really want to make you aware now that next week, really from Monday through Thursday, especially Tuesday through Thursday, from a temperature and wind chill side of things, going to be dangerously cold. So start preparing now for that, because this cold is no joke, and that cold is definitely no joke as we get into next week.
Wow. Yeah, it's going to be dangerous to go outside.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with the dogs. I guess put the pee pads down for me.
Unfortunately. Yeah, exactly.
It's good weather for cats.
Yeah.
We have cats.
Cat owners rejoice.
Yeah.
All right. Be careful out there.
Thank you, Dave.
Contenders for the 2020 presidential election are ready to take on President Trump.
But first, they're giving supporters a lesson on how to say their names correctly. CNN's Jeannie Mose reports.
fighting the line.
There's a new Democrat looking to run for president. If only we could pronounce his name.
Oh my God, Pete Buttigieg.
Pete Buttigieg. You try saying the name of South Bend, Indiana's mayor.
I'm Pete Buttigieg, but around South Bend they just call me Mayor Pete, and that's fine with me.
What isn't fine is that so many of the Democratic presidential wannabes have names that trip you up. Don't call him Julian Castro.
No, my name is Julian.
And don't do what Whoopi did when she introduced
Kamala Harris.
Oops, accent on the wrong syllable.
It's Kamala. Yeah, just think of like a comma and add a la.
Somebody forgot to tell right-wing critics Diamond and Silk.
You know, Kamala should be ashamed of herself. Shame on Kamala Harris.
It's really a shame when both names are tricky.
Please welcome Senator Kirsten Gillibrand.
How often do people call you Kristen Gillibrand?
A lot.
Oh, I know her. That's Kirsten Gillibrand.
Kirsten.
Oh, my goodness.
And then there's this guy whose childhood name stuck.
Hey there, this is Beto O'Rourke.
But his political foes delight in saying Beto rather than Beto.
Where is my opponent, Beto O'Rourke?
Referred to as Beto.
Campaigns sometimes go along with the joke.
Where do I get me one of them Beto signs? Beto.
It's not Kamala. It's not Kamala. It's Kamala.
Mayor Pete's husband offered some tips, like Buddha Judge, to help pronounce this Maltese name that translates to Lord of the Poultry. But even easy names get mangled. Take Bernie Sanders.
And Bernie sandwiches.
Yes, right.
Sometimes a name is more than people can bite off. Jeannie Moose.
Jeannie Moose. Moose. Moo. Jeannie Moo.
CNN.
It's Moose, right? Moose.
New York.
Who's she?
She's standing right in front of you.
Jeannie Mo's.
That was funny.
That was very funny. We're going to learn those names.
Yes.
All right, well, still to come at 4, he's the leader of the band and this month's top-notch teacher as well.
When we come back, our Charlotte DeLeste travels to Partyville and introduces us to teacher Dan Evans. That's when Live at 4 continues.
You are looking live at Platteville, where the sun apparently is out and it's snowy and cloudy here. So I guess the snow is moving west to east. It'll be out of here as well shortly, but cold nonetheless. A wise teacher once said, no matter what you do, just work very hard and try to be the very best you can be at it.
Charlotte Deleste is here to introduce us to this month's top-notch teacher. Hello, those are wise words.
Good afternoon.
Very, very wise. And this wise teacher just so happens to work at Partyville's middle and high schools. Meet the leader of the band, Dan Evans.
And every school deserves this. Every school needs something like this.
This is where the Partyville middle and high school bands will play come May in a brand spanking new performing arts auditorium.
Concerts in the gym is kind of like asking the basketball team to go play in the parking lot.
And a 1, 2, ready, and.
The gym is where they play now, under the direction of Dan Evans. Dan picked up the tuba in the 6th grade, which eventually led him to play with the National Guard Band and at UW-Madison under Mike Leckrone.
The best friends in the world came from my involvement in music.
Forming relationships through music hasn't changed a bit in his 17 years of teaching.
When you have a teacher or a student that is with you every day for, 7, 8 years or whatever it may be, that can really foster those relationships.
And when it comes to playing together, Dan says his students have what it takes to bring those musical notes to life.
To be a good musician, it takes a lot of emotion. Anybody can play notes eventually. They can play rhythms, they can play loud, they can play soft, but the best music you hear, or the best musicians you hear and songs you hear are because of the people putting their emotion.
Considering that he's had many of these high school musicians since the 5th grade, there's no doubt respect is a virtue played out in every practice.
It's something we have to demand, especially I feel that this is a team environment. Everybody needs to pull their own weight, but we can't accomplish things if we don't respect each other.
But just like a piece of music, the days of playing together as a group and in this gym will come to an end. But not if Dan has anything to say about it.
I always say, their senior year when they graduate, I wish I could just flunk them all and just keep them here because, especially by their senior year, they've just made, they'll come up to me and say, you've made a big impact on me, but I don't think they quite fully understand how they impact me as well.
And Dan, congratulations. If you know of a top-notch teacher, let me know and nominate him or her at channel3000.com, and you will find the form under the Education tab. Now, the first concert at the new Performing Arts Auditorium, it's going to be coming up pretty soon. It'll be at the beginning of May. So before you know it, it will be here. Yeah, it's going to be like such a difference between playing in the gym to this 500-seat auditorium.
Wow. It's going to sound a whole lot better.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic.
Congratulations to him and the school and everybody involved. Charlotte, thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte.
When we come back, a new ad from the Gillette Razor Company highlights the Me Too movement has people talking.
Including local ad executive Andy Wallman. We'll get his thoughts about the ad campaign when Live at 4 continues.
Good afternoon. Here is your Thursday First Alert traffic update across Dayton County. No major accidents or incidents are popping up, but the Beltline is rather slow, as you might expect for this time of day. Average speed eastbound is about 5 to 10, 15 miles per hour in some spots. Westbound, we're still looking at speeds around 25 to 35 miles per hour. So a little bit of improvement compared to the last 10 minutes or so. Verona Road eastbound to John Nolan, 15 minutes, still running slow. Average speed of around 20 miles per hour. And in the other direction, a little bit slow in that same stretch. Westbound, 8 minutes from John Nolan to Verona Road. Average speed of around 30 to 35 miles per hour. And that is your First Alert traffic update.
Razor company Gillette has sparked controversy and heated up social media with its latest ad campaign.
It addresses topics like toxic masculinity and the Me Too movement. Take a look.
Bullying.
The Me Too movement against sexual harassment.
Masculinity.
Is this the best a man can get? Is it? We can't hide from it.
Sexual harassment is taking over.
It's been going on far too long. We can't laugh it off.
The commercial changed Gillette's famous tagline from the best a man can get to the best a man can be. Was it a risk worth taking or a big marketing blunder?
Let's find out from Andy Wallman. He is the president and co-owner of KW2 here in Madison. Welcome back.
Andy, good to see you.
Good to see you, folks. Thanks for having me.
So, what do you think? A blunder or genius?
Boy, it's a big change from when they showed the Gillette razor on a bowling ball or the 19-blade razor, you know, when they were trying new products and things like that. I thought it was a really smart business move. Procter & Gamble owns Gillette. Procter & Gamble's a huge company. Forbes says Gillette's the 27th most valued brand in the world. Gillette owns 6 of the top 10 brands, and guess what? Sales have slid for Gillette for 6 years. Direct-to-consumer brands like Harry's and Dollar Shave Club have been biting them in the bottom line, and so they needed to do something to stand out in the category. So from a business perspective, standing out by taking a stand, like we see big brands do these days, I thought was a smart business move.
So consumers want brands to take a position on big social issues?
Yeah, we've seen this for the last few years. There was a study out yesterday taking consumer sentiment on that ad, the Gillette ad, and despite a lot of negative backlash in media and social media, 61% of the people approved of the ad, but you see that trend going on. And where it's especially salient, Susan, is with younger people. So Gillette, I think, is doing a smart business thing for right now. They're trying to proactively stem sliding sales in a way that'll impact Q1 in 2019. But millennials and Generation Z, they love when a brand takes a stand and has a voice. And a big brand like Gillette, Procter & Gamble, they're going to say, you know what, we're not going to get everybody anyway. That's okay. So Gillette might be making a great investment for maybe 5, 15 years down the line when all these super bearded millennials finally shave and they have to pick what razor they're going to use.
But it was interesting because there wasn't a razor in the entire ad.
Right. Wasn't that interesting? I thought another neat cue that they did in behavior change, which is what they're trying to do here, some behavior change through a razor of all things, showing the desired behavior is good. So they show a dad trying to jump into the tussle with a couple of boys and say, hey, let's not do that. Or they show a guy who's talking to a woman and saying, hey, here's a better way to act. A couple of neat little cues in the ad.
What do you say to the critics? Say, you know, you're robbing men of their masculinity here.
I don't know. I don't think they are. I think they're saying, guys, it's cool to be a good guy. It's cool to be a good guy to other guys, and it's cool to be a good guy to other women. You know, a watch brand came out with a sort of a reaction video celebrating men and all the great stuff and hardships that happen with men, and I like that ad too. I think it's true that men do some good things, but you look at 20,000 calls a day to domestic violence hotlines. You look at income inequality. Even on UW campus, 1 in 4 females reporting a sexual abuse or assault. It's, I think, okay for a brand to come out and say guys could maybe do a little bit better.
It's cool to be a good guy. There's nothing wrong with that.
What is the backlash about? What is the backlash position?
I think it's the times we're in. If you're not on the side that takes a stand, you hate that side. You're on the other side. From politics to now brands, we want to sort of be divisive. That sells. It It gets our juices going. It gets people on TV talking about ads. You know, you look back at the late 60s when our country was sort of being torn apart in ways, from race things to war, and people were talking about getting along, and now we don't talk about getting along. We talk about being apart. An interesting societal time we're in.
Yeah, it is.
Looking forward to the Super Bowl quickly, CBS has rejected a medical marijuana ad. And that is causing some controversy because marijuana is legal in both states where these teams are based.
Interesting, interesting. I think in a lot of those places they're waiting for the FCC and FDA to take, not FCC, but FDA, right, and take a stand and say, well, now we're following FDA rules and stuff. I could see them on a technicality going, we don't want to jump into that one yet.
Well, there's going to be a lot of great Super Bowl ads, and we're going to see you a week from Monday.
Can't wait.
Don't go far.
Can't wait. I will. Best time of the year for an ad guy.
And it's the best time for us to have the ad guy here.
Yes, it is.
And good to see you again, Andy.
Thank you.
See you soon. See you soon. And we'll be right back with a final check of your forecast. Dave's back. It's the cool down begins.
Yeah, exactly. With temperatures rapidly dropping tonight into the single digits and below zero. The snow coming to an end for southwestern Wisconsin, but some of us across Dane County still seeing a few flakes. Those will come to an end just a few hours from now across southeastern Wisconsin. Wind chills still above zero in Madison, but that's not the case to our west. And yeah, those numbers kind of speak for themselves as we get into early tomorrow morning.
Be careful going outside.
Yes.
All right, Dave, thank you. Tomorrow here on Live Before, the director of the Marquette Law School poll, Charles Franklin, will join us to run down the latest poll numbers.
And Michael Bruno goes backstage for Aren't We Delicious's production of A Serpent's Tooth, the King Lear musical. That's coming up tomorrow on Live at 4.